All right, we'll jump in. Let's get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Chris Wong. I'm head of developer relations here at Mapbox. I'll be emceeing this session on Mapbox Feedback Agent, enabling voice-driven feedback in your mobile applications. Before we get started, we have a few logistical notes. All the build sessions for this week will be recorded and available to view after the event. We will be inviting live questions to our guests, from our guests. To participate, please submit questions through the Zoom Q&A feature. Captions are available in multiple languages. To enable that, please use the Captions button at the bottom of your screen. And you can discover all of the build sessions available through the week in our Zoom lobby. That's all I've got for logistical notes, so I'm happy to welcome our session presenter to the virtual stage. Please welcome Antonio Zugaldia, who's an engineering manager on our navigation team. Antonio, take it away.
Thank you so much, Chris, and thank you all for being here. Today, we're going to be talking about the feedback agent. I am very excited to share with you all more information about this new product from Mapbox. This is the agenda for the next few minutes. I want to start by showing you how voice will help us improve the way we collect feedback from navigation from drivers. Then I'm going to show you how this works in practice. I'm going to share a few examples of things that you can build now with Feedback Agent that you couldn't do before. And I'm going to share with you also a new tool that comes with Feedback Agent, the Feedback Explorer, that is going to give you access for the first time to the feedback that was reported by your drivers. And finally, I'll share some more details, some good news in terms of availability for this feature. But first of all, let's start with the problem that we're trying to solve here. The thing is that when you install Navigation SDK today and you want to start collecting navigation feedback from your drivers, you have a mechanism, the one that you can see on the left side of the screen. It's very straightforward to implement and very straightforward to use. It's a screen with a number of buttons. We call this the category-based feedback, because you choose which categories are relevant to your application or which one is the most relevant to your application. You put them on the screen, and then you let your drivers tap on the right button to tell you what is the feedback that they're trying to submit. This works well, but comes with a few trade-offs. The first one is that this screen tends to occupy most of the screen in the application. It tends to hide the map and the navigation session, and also it can be distracting if you're trying to submit feedback while you're driving, because you need to start looking for which one is the right button, which label you need to read. And that is something that is not ideal when you are in the move. The other one is that you can select some categories, but that set of categories is limited. And also, you are putting on the driver the responsibility of choosing what is the right category for the thing that they're trying to submit, right? And finally, you can only provide very limited context about what you're trying to report. One example, imagine that you want to click the run speed limit here on the bottom right of the screen because you're seeing a value of 50 in the app, but you see in the real world that the actual limit is 60. If you tap the button, there is no opportunity to provide the right value. That makes the feedback less actionable. This is what we're trying to change by introducing voice in the feedback pipeline. And this is how we are reimagining the experience. Instead of having a screen with buttons where you need to decide which buttons to present the user and the driver needs to decide which button to click, we have a voice feedback initiated interaction where the driver only needs to speak to the application. We show a small card, like the one you're seeing on the bottom left. The driver will say what is wrong with what they are seeing. In this case, there is an issue, one of the lanes on the Van Ness Avenue that they are navigating. And when they finish speaking, the card dismisses itself, thanks the driver for the feedback, and everything continues. There is nothing else that the driver needs to do, no other distractions, no other buttons to click. And everything is taken care of in the background by the feedback agent. We at Mapbox give you a feedback SDK, you integrate in your mobile application, and then we get this audio And we use the magic of AI and LLMs to do the transcription, the categorization, and submitting everything with all the metadata to the Mapbox processing pipeline. We like this because it comes with a number of advantages compared to what we were seeing earlier. Instead of having a screen that distracts potentially the user while driving, this is a mechanism that feels more natural, right? The driver doesn't need to pick a category. The driver doesn't need to read labels on the screen. They only need to speak their mind. They just need to see an issue on the road and say something about it. So first item that is important here is safety. We think that by bringing voice, not only is more natural, we minimize distractions, we make the experience safer. Second bucket here we're very excited about is the way we think this can improve your application experience. Because the driver can now use the voice to provide feedback about what they're seeing. They are not limited to location-related categories that are unique to Mapbox. They can provide feedback about the road, about the traffic, but also about something that is specific about the experience with your application. You can create custom categories. You can let your drivers use the same mechanism to give you feedback and improve your application. And all of this with the same simplicity that we had today for category-based feedback. We give you an SDK that is easy to integrate. You just need to present this button, and everything else is taken care of by the integration. And finally, because we use voice and we have better data and better reports from drivers, we have also built a collection of tools on top of that to build new experiences with this voice mechanism, with these feedback agents. I'm going to show you in a second, but there is a new feedback explorer, a new feedback API, and something that is very exciting is that it will let you close the feedback loop. And all of this backwards compatible. You don't need to decide which one to use. You don't need to remove the previous mechanism from the new mechanism. You can keep using the category-based feedback whenever it makes sense. You can bring the new one for other experiences where voice is more reasonable. And they are both working in the same way under the hood. The data goes to the same way, and it gets treated in the same way that it used to do before. Now, let me give you a few examples of things that you can do thanks to this new mechanism. The first one that I was mentioning is the ability to provide custom feedback. Now you are not limited to location-related reports. You can encourage your users to basically use this voice mechanism to give you anything that is important to them for their experience end-to-end. So for example, imagine a delivery application. Not only the driver will be able to send you reports about wrong ETA or traffic, they may also say, you know what, the destination was on the wrong side of the street. That is not where the building entrance was. This is the entry code that other drivers would need. And this is the issue that I had with the food packaging. And all of that will still be captured by the voice feedback. It will not be rejected because it's not location related. It will process in the same way with the same experience. We will tag it accordingly as an application-specific feedback, and we'll make it available to you with the same tooling that I'm going to show you in a second. Another example that I think is very important is the ability to close the feedback loop. I think it's frustrating for a driver that provides feedback if you never hear from the application developer if something was done with that feedback, right? You want to provide that piece of information. You want to know if something was done about it. With Feedback Agent, we are giving you the tooling to do exactly that. Every feedback report, we create a unique ID that you can use to track every report from every driver. You can use it to track the status of a feedback report, whether it was fixed, whether it was reviewed, whatever the status was. And you can notify your driver in any way that is relevant to your application. You can send a push notification, you can send an email, you can create a custom screen in the application. But now at least this is possible. Another one, you don't need to tap multiple times, multiple buttons to report multiple connected issues, right? That is very distracting and that is annoying. You don't need to open the category-based feedback and start tapping on it several times because you have several things to say. You can say them all at once. You can just say, like in the example on the screen, hey, the ETA was off, and also the entrance was on the wrong location, and you can submit that the way you would talk to a regular person, and magic of AI in the background, we will understand the report, we will break it down into multiple independent reports, and we will make them available to you separately so that you know which ones we acted on. And finally, the ability to add the key information to the events. I was mentioning earlier the example of the speed limit. If you report the wrong speed limit, but you are not able to say the right value. Similarly, in this example here, if you are seeing more traffic on the road, but you're not able to explain what is happening, why is this more traffic, it turns out there is a road closure ahead of you. Being able to provide this additional feedback is what makes the difference from a report that is not actionable to a report that is actionable. So it increases the actionability of reports. It makes the feedback that you get from drivers to be more effective. In the past, when we were using category-based feedback, the raw buttons that we were seeing at the beginning, we saw that on average, actionability of those reports were around 40–50% for some customers. So that means that about half of the reports, we didn't have enough information to act on them. With Feedback Agent, because we are adding voice to it, we're adding the context of the transcription, we're doubling that actionability. We've been using it internally with our driver operations team, and we see actionability of around 95% for the reports now, which makes the reports much more effective. Now, this is all the way that you have to integrate in your app to provide more feedback. This is voice as input, but as I was saying earlier, because we now have this additional information about reports and because we know that they are more actionable, we also wanted to give you more tools for seeing what your drivers are reporting. And the most important component is the Feedback Explorer. The Feedback Explorer is a new application inside the Mapbox Developer Console. So when you go to your standard developer console, the same place that you see at other applications like Studio, you will have a new application explorer that will list all the reports that your drivers are reporting. You will be able to see a list of reports. You will be able to see a map with them. You will be able to get a list with the latest reports. You will be able to see the information about each report. Here at the top, you can also see some filtering that is available. You can say, hey, tell me what happened last week on map error categories and tell me only the ones that were closed. You can build some custom filtering. You can get a sense of what your drivers are reporting on a given day or on a given location. And if you want to learn more about a specific item, you can tap on it and we open a screen where we give you a map representation with the location of the issue, with the metadata that comes with the reports, and that gives you more information about everything that is happening. Now, at the same time, we know that while the Feedback Explorer is very helpful, we use it internally to get a sense of the reports we get during internal drive testing. You may want to build something custom, right? You might want to connect this data, this new source of data with your existing systems. You might have some reporting mechanism that you already use in your application. You want to bring that data in. You want to build something custom. You want to create something that requires programmatic access to all this data. Together with the Feedback Explorer, there is a Feedback API, a one API similar to other APIs that Mapbox provides that give you access to all the data that your drivers are sending. And it's the same Feedback API that powers our Feedback Explorer. All right. I think that was a lot of information in the last few minutes. So let me do a quick recap about voice feedback, about the Feedback Agent. Some of the advantages of using voice feedback, we mentioned safety. It decreases the distraction from the driver. It doesn't block the navigation experience. It doesn't block your application. So it's easier to submit feedback. It's easier to submit more quality feedback and all of that with less distractions. I think it gives your application a strong opportunity to improve based on that feedback as well, not only based on location data, but also on the new data that you can collect from your users about your application. You can define your own categories. You can look at things that are specific to your app and use the same tooling that I presented today for other reports to improve your app. It increases the actionability. Reports are of more quality. Users are more satisfied because we're able to do something with what they say. They take the time to send you a report, and you are now also able to tell them when you took action on that report and close the feedback loop in any way that makes sense for your application. We have a system that is very flexible. It allows push notifications, custom screens, and other mechanisms. And because we use latest generation LLMs under the hood, this is multilingual. We're launching with about a dozen languages in public preview today, and we are going to open more languages in the future. Now, two considerations that are important to keep in mind about voice is that, as everything, it comes with trade-offs. One is it requires additional permissions. So keep in mind that we need to have access to the microphone in order to get access to the audio. And if you don't do that in your application yet, this is something new that you might need to do. And the second one is that it comes with an additional dependency in order to enable all the flow that I mentioned earlier, being able to collect audio from the microphone, do the speech transcription, and build this UI that I presented. It's a pretty lightweight SDK, but it's still an SDK that needs to be integrated. And now, finally, the details that I want to leave you with. The first one is the good news that everything that I just presented is available to anyone to integrate with today. We are launching the feedback agent in public preview, and that includes all the products that I mentioned, the feedback SDK that you use to integrate in your application, mobile and automotive, in order to enable the feedback from drivers, the Feedback Explorer, which is the Mapbox developer console application to visualize those reports, to get a graphical list of all the reports and maps with where the reports are happening, together with the Feedback API, that is what powers the Feedback Explorer under the hood to get programmatic access. Feedback Agent is in public preview, is free to use during public preview. And when we launch in GA, the pricing, as described on the screen, will be based on usage. All the information about the product is on our product page that we just released today, mapbox.com/feedback-agent. That will give you access to the latest product information. It will give you access and links to our technical documentations for the Feedback SDK and for the Feedback API. So I encourage you all to give this one a try. We just launched in public preview. It's a great time to share early comments about the product and help us shape the final version of the product when we launch in GA. So thank you all for your attention.
All right. Thank you, Antonio, for that great presentation on this new product or new offering in the navigation SDKs. We have a few questions. So first one that came in from somebody attending is, I've been using Navigation V2 in Android Auto, which had a more manual feedback mechanism. Will I be able to see the existing feedback that has been collected up until now using the new Feedback API?
That's right. So the answer is yes. If you have been using Navigation V2 to collect feedback, we want all the feedback to be centralized in one location. So the Feedback Explorer will be able to show you feedback, whether you collected it using voice or using the existing category-based feedback. One caveat though, for now, the feedback agent, when we are launching today in public preview, it's only available for Navigation SDK V3. So in order to take advantage of voice, you would need to upgrade to the latest version of the Navigation SDK, although we are looking into backporting its functionality to V2 as well.
Excellent. There's another question about, well, does Mapbox keep the audio recordings from the feedback reports from drivers?
I appreciate that question. We do not. We want to be very careful about any information we collect from any user, and we only want to collect the absolute minimum that we need in order to build this product. So in order to respect privacy, we only gather the audio in order to create the transcription. And as soon as we have a transcription, we drop the audio. So we don't keep record of the actual audio of the report. We just have the transcription, which is what make available in the Feedback Explorer.
Thanks. Excellent. Okay, so now next question is, as a developer, can I build a custom UI where both voice and traditional button-based feedback UI are presented to users? Can I combine the new voice feedback and traditional feedback?
Yeah. So as I was mentioning earlier, right now we have the category-based feedback, and with Feedback Agent, we enable a second mechanism, which is voice-based. However, we have built the SDK in a way that is flexible enough so that if you want to combine both, sort of a hybrid approach, where the driver can decide whether to use category-based feedback or voice feedback depending on the situation. For example, imagine a situation where you have a delivery driver that while they are driving, they prefer voice feedback because it has less instruction. But once they stop navigation, they might be in an environment that is more noisy and voice doesn't work as well, but they can still provide feedback using buttons. You can create that hybrid experience where both options are presented to the driver. So you can keep using category-based feedback, you can switch to voice feedback, or you can keep both depending on what makes sense for your experience.
Excellent. And then finally, is the Feedback SDK available for both iOS and Android navigation SDKs?
So right now we're launching today with Android support, and the Feedback Agent is available for Android integration today. iOS is planned to be supported and is coming soon.
Awesome. Okay, I think we're at time, so this will conclude our session. Thank you, Antonio, for the great presentation, and thank you to all of our viewers for joining. Be sure to catch the other build sessions this week, and I hope you enjoyed this time. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all.